by alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon by taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Friend from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
What is up, my soccer folks? This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I'm your host, John, and alongside me this fine fall day, as you can hear the glasses clinking, is the Nate Morales. Nate, there is a fantastic fall feel in the air, which normally would mean Open Cup soccer for us, but if we hadn't been kicked out of the tournament, and it would also mean for me, like tons of college recruiting. So I'm getting to watch a lot of games, but not this year. The gods have said no to our normal fall soccer. But it feels like maybe soccer is starting to normal out a little bit.
Soccer is the only thing that feels close to normal right now, John.
Right.
Outside of this wonderful glass of Whistle Pig in my hand.
Sounds great.
So I'm living for tonight, John. We got a really great show with a special guest that we've never talked to before. Another weekly MVP. Really excited to have him. First, we're going to cover the Week 6 recap of the Minneapolis City Ben Wexler Brotherhood Cup 7v7 League. And of course, we'll talk about playoff seedings because playoffs start Wednesday night. That is tonight, if you're listening right now when this podcast is posted. And then we're going to welcome Mitch Wolff to the show. Mitch is the MVP winner from last week. He is up and coming goalkeeper in this Minneapolis City system who has definitely been around the world. So I'm really excited to talk to him. And we will play our favorite game, Ask John Anything. But first, John, let's dive in. What happened last week in the Ben Wexler Brotherhood Cup? We got to get to what, 5 or 6?
We're at week 6, yeah. So week 6 of the Ben Wexler Brotherhood Cup brings an end to league play and shuffles in the seedings for the playoffs, which will begin this coming week. So if you haven't quite been paying attention, you can head on over to mplscitysc.com/7v7-league. Or you can just go into the main navigation on the website, and there's a link. You can go there. Essentially, it's an intra-squad league, 7v7. It's all current Minneapolis City 1 and 2 players, along with some trialists and some new guys, a la Mitch, who I'll be talking to here in a little bit. But Nate, as the regular season comes to an end, once again, you were on parent duties last week. So I was Johnny on the spot up in Blaine for what turned out to be some serious fucking soccer, man. A lot was on the line in the Brotherhood Cup. There were 3 potential teams that could all take first place. Or the top seed, excuse me. And so results were definitely needed. So match 1 was the game this week where we saw the poor Turtles drop another 3 points again by a loss of 6-2 versus the one-timers. So just when you thought things were going to turn around for the Tackled by Turtles, they got some defensive help back with the return of Miles Norville and Matt Murakami, which is what they desperately needed. And they went into the second half 2-2 tie. They had, like I said, they had those players come back, but that was not enough to tamper the hot hand of the one-timers as they poured on 4 goals in the second half on the back of 2 by Josue, 1 by Sambo, and 1 by trialist Scotty Heinen. So let me put it this way. They looked less hapless as they had in the past. And they looked as if they were starting to figure each other out, but then they haven't had their proper defensive players back for long enough for them to be able to move some of the players like Steve back up into his natural spot and get comfortable. Mark Bokeen came back to provide some attacking help to Cole Schwartz, who's been really just carrying the team on his back for as far as goals are concerned. The addition of Dom from the Bavarians as a midseason transfer, we weren't able to get him going as a true number 10. to support Cole. So, but you started to see it though, which is interesting because there may be a potential for them to catch a heater here in the next 2 weeks and cause some problems if they can all get all their guys there. But so they go into the playoffs as the only team to go winless at 0-6. Just poor guys, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about next week is the playoffs, and hopefully they can get it together. Like that seems like they're, waiting until the last minute to do it. But this was, to be fair to them, this was the game they're waiting for. Like the narrative so far has been they lost these defensive heavy hitters, but now they're back, right? Miles has recovered. Matt Murakami is back. So really at this point, who else can they look to for defensive help outside of Steve in his deep midfielder skill set? Like really it does have to be about finding that cohesion and hoping to make a run, because otherwise, and they've proven, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but they've proven that they've got a goal scorer. They've got a guy that can get the ball to into some dangerous places. So it's like if they can pull it all together, it could be dangerous in the first round. Like it could upset that number one seed, but I don't know, man. Hard to go against what our eyes have seen over these last 6 weeks.
I felt bad because I wasn't watching that game as closely as I was the match 2 that we're going to be talking about here in a second. And I'm glad I was watching this one because it was really, really good. But when I would glance over, it was like, they had some good patterns of play. They were connecting some passes. It was just kind of like dumb mistakes that can be fixed, but they just happened to happen. And then, when you're talking about a team that's got guys like Gibbons and Will Kidd and Samo and Joseph Way, those guys will just eat up any defensive mistakes. And that's what happened in the second half. And they just could never get anything going forward. So fingers crossed, man. Hopefully they figure their shit out. So match 2.
This is the one.
This was the one. And Nate, it was shot out of a cannon with the Bob Dillionaires and the 99ers going at it for what would be the number 1 seed in the playoffs versus the hapless TBT tackled by Turtles next week. These teams went at each other. Both teams were close to full strength as the Dillionaires got back Franco Pertel and Abdallah Ba, who are probably about the best 2 type of players you could pick up for a push to win the regular season. Right. And the 99ers had their usual suspects that have been a consistent, cohesive team for the previous 5 weeks. So it was really like the 2 juggernauts of the league. I know the guys from One Timers are going to say that they should be in the conversation, and they should, but these 2 teams going at it, like having to overtake a quality side to get the number 1 seed, which some might consider a bye into the final, the way the Turtles have been playing. Both teams really needed to come out and perform. So this game had so many things of note. First off, the Bob Dillionaires took the first half lead 2-1 after waves of attacks. And Troy Luegi, the goalie for the 99ers, was just standing on his head. I mean, the guy could literally do no more than he did to keep his team in the game. And that he did, even though they were down 2-1 going into the half. Abdallah Ba scored the second goal, which was vintage Duluth Abdallah Ba, where he kind of just swiveled his hips through like 4 or 5 defenders and then just roofed one on Troy that he had no chance at. So it was nice to see Bob back. The 99ers did hit the post 3 times in the first half against Mitch Wolff, our guest tonight. And then another 2 more times in the second half. So it was like, if they could only just find that extra inch to the other direction, we could have seen, a 4-2 lead instead of a 2-1 deficit at halftime. So the framework, and I'm not talking like 1 post 5 times or 3 times. I'm talking the crossbar in both posts in the first half. So they were definitely peppering it, but Mitch stood on his head in his own right. He was everywhere when he wasn't hearing the ping of the post, saving him on a few of those shots, to the tune of 17 saves in that match.
That's so many.
Yeah. Tackles were flying in. Mitch will talk about a little bit when we get to him later on. The referee was getting yelled at by the guys. They all just wanted that. Yeah, the guys just wanted that number 1 seed. So with the game tied at 3 after a goal by Nick Hutton off of the elusive goalkeeper assist by Mitch Wolff, club co-captain Max Stegward took a perfectly weighted pass from Gatto with just minutes left to go to seal the victory. And then kind of like all hell broke loose. Everyone's like screaming directions and guys are going bombing forward and people were throwing legs out there trying to stop shots. And it was very much like a hockey power play. And we actually did have our first ever power play with the aforementioned Stegwart getting a yellow card for dissent and having to go off for 2 minutes. So the 99ers even had an opportunity to equalize at the death by being a man up, and they were still able to hold it together. And it was a few game saving saves by Mitch again to keep them in the right side of the column.
Wow.
So that was it, man. It was so much. Like there's even more that I probably missed, but it was awesome. It was the most highly and hotly contested game of the whole entire first 6 weeks.
Exciting, man. And given the past goal amounts, this is really not the game you would have expected to be kind of lower score. Nail biter is probably what we should have expected, and maybe what we deserved out of this one. Two great teams going up against each other. 17 saves and an assist, though. That is some MVP caliber performance. If I ever saw one or heard of one. If only we had that field in the form we could fill out. Maybe
I forgot to mention that in the notes here. Pick 'em, folks.
But we didn't. But speaking of the MVP, John, let's get the updated regular season stats, man. This is the end of the regular season. I cannot go forward
until I say sorry to the Pick 'em folks for not including an MVP for the week. That's my bad. You can file your complaints to me directly. I will fix it for the next 2 weeks.
I think the approach was good. We missed it, and then it was like, well, do we want to send a second form out and just have like 2 forms floating around in people's inboxes? And that didn't feel fair either. If you decided to answer the one that didn't have the MVP field, so
yes. So I made a big boy decision to not confuse people. So, anyways, the Golden Boot race was heated up again. Cole Schwartz did score again, and Justin Oliver was held scoreless. So what that does is it ties us up going into the playoffs with Cole Schwartz and Justin Oliver tied atop at 12 each, followed by 3 players at 7 in Mito Youssef, Josue Batule, and Will Kidd. So, with 2 weeks left to go, you never know what could happen.
This is what I was talking about though. With Tackle by Turtles, you've got a Golden Boot contender. So if you can get consistency on your defense and organize as a team, you could
100%. As far as assists go, it seems to be a 1-horse race with Matt Gibbons leading at 13 and then Tyler Oliver with 10. If you remember, 7 of those 10 came in one game. So you're really looking at the next 2 players in Mito Youssef at 8 and Gatto, or better known as Javier Juarez, with 5. But then you're looking at the table here, Nate, and that's 1 player from the one-timers with 13 assists and then 3 players from the 99ers with a collective 23. So like that just means that Gibbons is really setting the table for his teammates. And then if you go back to the Golden Boot race, 14 goals coming from Josue and Will Kidd, plus some Samo goals and some other goals in there. Gibbons is probably setting up two goals a game, and that's super valuable to have a guy who's constantly willing to do that game in and game out. From a goalkeeper stat perspective, a lot to cover here. Mitch Wolff, who we'll be talking to in a second, leads the league with 57 saves and only 17 goals against, followed by Troy Luegi with 53 goals, 53 saves, 29 against. Devin Thompson of the one-timers, last week's MVP, was 35 saves and 24 goals against. Matt Elder with 25 saves and 21 goals against, and only in 3 games. So sorry, Turtles. Dan Hudeman with 16 saves and 15 goals against. Quinn Kiernett with 14 saves and 4 goals against. And then, like we mentioned last week, Zuhair Al-Abbasi with 1 save, no goals against.
Nice. How do you get credited to a save?
Troy was beaten and he was standing in the goal and someone fired a ball off his ass. So
a clearance off the line with your foot doesn't count.
I mean, I would have given it to him if he would have stuck his foot out, but it just happened to be hit so hard he couldn't get his foot in the way.
Oh, okay.
So the ass will do.
Well, John, after last week when we saw Devin Thompson wrestle the MVP honors away from the field players, once again we have another goalkeeper who has done the same. Thanks to the framework of the goal a couple times, but still, he definitely deserves this. That is the Bob Billionaire's own Mitch Wolff on the back of 17 saves and an assist, the rare goalkeeper assist. Always highly coveted in these
absolutely.
Kind of
and then, like we mentioned, what that did was that set up our playoff seedings. So the playoff picture goes as such.
Mm-hmm.
The Bob Billionaires, the Morris Day and the One-Timers, and the 99ers all finished at 4 wins and 2 losses, with the Turtles coming in at 0 wins and 6 losses. So essentially, what it went down to was goal differential. So the Bob Billionaires went with 25-4, 21 against in 6 games played with a +4 goal differential. The One-Timers with 25-4, 24 against with a +1. The 99ers, who were leading the table up until the last 2 games, were with 27-4, 29 against for a -2. And then the Turtles, 22 goals for, 36 against at a -14. So that is how the seeding goes. So you're going to have the Bob Billionaires tomorrow night Wednesday night taking on the Tackle by Turtles in the 1-4 matchup, and then the One-Timers playing the 99ers in the 2-3 matchup, which should be a great game. And then in 2 weeks, so we'll cover it next show, but the way the playoffs work is that everyone obviously is entered in because there's only 4 teams. The semifinal game will be before the final game, and then so everyone can stick around and watch. So there will be a consolation game, so everybody gets 2 playoff games, whether it be for the Ben Wexler Brotherhood Cup or for bragging rights for not being last place.
Well, and that's going to be good for the pick'em players, because that means we have 2 full weeks of matchups ahead of us in order to claw back to the top, if you will. This last week, good old Paul Smichael and Charles's dog. He led all players 9 points, outpacing the standings, outpacing the rest of us. That's pretty good. That's like what 2? I guess it's picking them both
one
correctly
score
and
correct.
picking the scores correctly. Nice. Uncle Biz's Ballers, led by you and Bryn Shank with MCSC Till I Die, 7 points this week. Followed by the Replacements for a Season by Colin O'Donnell, David Zeller and his Hamlin High-Specs, and me, PK Control. Not doing
You
so
did.
great.
You had a really good week, and then ever since then, it's kind of been like,
So, I know, falling off. But congrats to this week's top of the shit pile pickers. All of you guys have been contacted by Sarah about the spots you have earned to watch live tonight. And if not, hopefully she'll get to you. She's going to get that info ASAP. That's going to hit your inbox. For the rest of everyone, we just have to hope to do better.
So
I'm
loading up here. I can tell you who the leaders are, the points leaders are. So with 46 points, leading the league is a little team called Uncle Biz's Ballers. So definitely striking distance for the next few folks. If I don't continue on the hot hand I've had, Bryn Shank with MCSC Till I Die is at 34 points, tied with Colin O'Donnell with the Replacements for a Season at 34. Then it's David Zeller with the Hamlin Hero Specs with 28. Nate Morales, that's you. I don't know if you knew that. With PK Control at 26. And then Paul and Charles's dog at 22. So
not good.
the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players fortunately have the opportunity to make a push. And like I have stated it, but I don't know if I've talked about on the show that if I were to win the coveted free 2021 season member package, I will auction that off to the highest bidder to put the money into the Minneapolis City Futures Fund if I do win. So I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be that guy who wins his own league, nice. And then doesn't try to make it right.
That's like the dream of every fantasy commissioner, is just to win my own league.
Exactly. So good luck, everybody. If not, we'll do some charity good.
In the great tradition of our coverage of the Wexler Cup, tonight we honor last week's MVP with sweet airtime. Welcome to the show for the first time ever, Mr. Mitch Wolff. Mitch, how are you feeling tonight?
Good. Glad to be joining you guys. I appreciate the invite, and the sweet airtime is all the payments I need. You know,
it's so sweet.
We'll take note of that.
That's a cue.
Yeah.
So super great thing about this 7v7 league is that it's really given fans a chance to get to know some players that might be new to the city world, or definitely are new to the Minneapolis city world. So why don't you, and that's you're so new. So tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you got started in soccer and where your journey has taken you up until now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from the western suburbs, played high school ball at Orono High School, and now this kind of links back to a little bit later in the story, but, you know, John and I are coaching together at Orono now. We're both on the varsity coaching staff. I played my club ball locally for Thunder here. And then after high school, I played at St. Thomas, had 4 really good years there. And I actually would say I probably developed the most at St. Thomas, interestingly, and I was really lucky and fortunate just the way it went to get a lot of game time. And then after that, you know, I really didn't want to be done playing, and you know, the MASL I had played in a little bit over the maybe sophomore, junior, senior years during the summers, like a lot of guys had. But about that time, there was a really nice opportunity to play for the Minnesota United reserve team. And a lot of guys don't know that the Minnesota United reserves existed. And this was back during the NASL days. So I played for them for a couple seasons. And unfortunately, they were disbanded when the club went to the MLS. So that was the end of the reserves. And I wasn't really sure what my next step was going to be, but I ended up getting a chance to play in Sweden through a couple different mutual contacts. And I really went there in like a week's notice. It was pretty wild. I had let some people know I was looking for any opportunity. And I remember laying in bed and looking at my phone and seeing an email from an agent in Sweden. And at first I thought it was kind of spammy. And then I opened it up, and pretty soon I was on the phone with the guy. And yeah, 6 days later, I was landing in Norway on a couple hours sleep. So really wild story there.
What was the name of your team?
Yeah, so I played for 2 clubs there. The first one I played for was EFK Os, and then the second club I played for was Arvika EFK.
A lot of EFKs there.
EFK is a big vowel people, or big consonant people, you know. But so you know, that was a really cool opportunity, just because you know, as an American player, it's kind of a dream to, you know, play abroad. And I think a lot of guys at my level, they sometimes realize that, you know, there's a lot of great opportunity when you do take the jump to play abroad, but you also, if nothing else, you can leverage it into a really cool chance to see a different part of the world and, you know, have your expenses covered and that kind of thing. So
right.
It's a great excuse to basically study abroad for a season. And then I made the jump between clubs, which was, you know, kind of a cool process. It was a little stressful at times, but you know, it kind of gave a good feel to it. And you know, I played with some really great players over there. I mean, there were definitely a lot of local guys, but I got a chance, you know, on my first club, I played for some guys that actually had been in Red Star Belgrade's youth academy. So just all kinds of different walks of life.
Yeah.
And some guys that had really like lived and breathed the game at a much higher level for like a majority of their lives. So,
probably no mafia ties there either.
No, definitely not. That's a whole different story. But yeah, I've heard some. I can talk a little bit about that, but yeah, maybe a different maybe a different time on that one. But yeah, so when I got back from Sweden, it was late fall of 2018. And then I kind of hit the trial circuit in the U.S. and I leveraged some contacts I had, got some trials lined up. I was training really well over the winter and like early spring months. And then I think a lot of people don't know this. I've told some people, but I ended up kind of having a health scare where I actually got meningitis.
Oh,
Um,
holy.
yeah. So very, very big tip here. Do not get meningitis. And if you
No.
do not get it at the start of the season because it'll take you out of the game for a while.
Do you have any idea where you got meningitis, or was it just kind of a freak?
I think I hate to say it because it almost makes it seem like it was just like all for naught. But yeah, that week I did every battery of tests they could run on me. And basically when the doctor explained that, when they get to the end of the list, it's like, sometimes you just get meningitis, sometimes people
Sometimes you don't. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes your buddy might get the sniffles from the cold, and then other people it attacks your meninges and you're in a hospital for like 8 days straight. So it was it was really brutal. And then I had this wild like swelling in my knees that was like emergency arthritic attack. So for like a little brief period of time, it was pretty rough, but they were telling me that I might have some knee damage that would be permanent. So for a brief period of time there, I was afraid that I wouldn't even be playing anymore, and that was obviously pretty scary. And I'm really happy that I haven't had any real long-term effects from that. But it definitely took me out for the spring of 2019, and I missed some of the opportunities and trials that I had. I mean, I already had lined up plane tickets for some of the clubs and stuff. But through a roundabout way, it ended up turning out that I leveraged some contacts I had back to Minnesota United, and I ended up getting a chance to trial with them. And for me, it was like this wild oh shit moment where I was barely back in fitness shape. I mean, I had hardly even touched a ball in like 3 months, and all of a sudden I had a chance to go trial or at least join in training with Minnesota United briefly to try to get fit, is the way it was posed to me. So, not exactly a lot of room for error there, but I was really excited about it. Yeah. And it ended up going, I thought it was going to be like a week. Best case scenario would be like a week, and it would be like this memorable week that I would never forget. And through a bunch of different situations, it ended up being that I was with them for like the entire season that year. I got to train with some like amazing goalkeeping minds, and like obviously the whole roster there is just a wealth of knowledge. Yeah, so it was probably the highlight of my playing career so far. I trained with Dane St. Clair, Bobby Shuttleworth, and then Vito Minoni, and Vito was the MLS goalkeeper of the year that year. So I mean, just to like get a picture with him, was like an amazing experience. And then just seeing him train day in, day out, that really, I think that really changed how I see the game and like how I approached training situations. Just watching him like strike a ball or like catch a ball or any of those guys was just like, just soaking up this knowledge, and they're just so professional about it. So that was amazing. So yeah, I learned a lot from the coaches there, like John Pasquarello, like I said, and then Stuart Kerr was hired on as the goalkeeping coach there. And, for the next basically over a year, I trained with them. And like I said, it was an amazing opportunity. And, they had some personnel situations such that, definitely on match day -1, I was basically there to serve balls and stay out of the way. And I mean, I totally understood that and was more than happy to just do that. But then on other times, like I said, like the day after a match or something like that, like I got to jump into, 4v4 tournaments and stuff, and did a lot of, shooting drills, finishing drills, stuff like that. And, so I kind of was able to pick my places where I could really play my heart out. And, I think that it was mutually beneficial. I hope that, I was able to add something to their trainings by keeping, some of the volume off some of their other guys. And, I learned so much in such a short period of time. It was just this amazing experience.
That's awesome.
So are there any juicy stories or any memorable stories from inside the hallowed halls of United headquarters that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, first off, I can just say that, like since I was there during like the NASL days, it really is like an amazing it's an amazing example of just what like an influx of sports money does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and like we were so thrilled with the like facilities back then, especially because we were like an NPSL team, right? So I mean, we were sitting there kind of, mooching off the NASL facilities. Like we were loaded. We were super happy about it. And then I walked in that first day, and really it was just like nice high school locker rooms. I mean, it was perfectly fine, but then it was like, wow, these are top flight players. Like they've got the leather seat cushions on the locker and stuff, and that was really cool to see. But yeah, I don't know, just like a lot of bullshitting at training and stuff, and just kind of seeing these guys that I now watch on TV, seeing them off the pitch was really cool. We had lunch, team lunch together, like a normal club would do, and yeah, just a lot of funny stories from that.
Well, there's one that I want to see that I hope you can tell, because I thought it was an interesting take. You told me once about your conversation with Lawrence Olm about like how he
yes,
how he stayed at such a high level throughout his career, even though maybe his abilities had waned.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that this is one of the like, it was just so funny because I think he and I were actually just eating alone. So we were like the first two players into the team room, and this is because like he probably just was like he's taking good enough care of his body. He didn't have to be on the training table as much as some of the younger guys even. So like mad respect to him.
He didn't play a lot, so he probably had a lot of wear and tear.
True, for sure. He hits the lunchroom at the same time I am, and like I'm doing it because I'm literally trying to sprint out of there, grab food, take some work calls as I'm going to handle my day job basically, and do like the remote stuff, and then coach high school soccer later that afternoon. But he's sitting there and he tells me, and I forget how it came up exactly, but he was like, how I've been able to stay in the league so long? And I'm like, well, I'm dying to know. Tell me why. And he said, honestly, every time I get the ball, I literally look up and I have all the players' salaries memorized, and I just pass to whatever player is open that has the biggest salary. And I've done that for all these years now, and I keep having success with it. And I thought that's like such a great way of saying it. And he even said, he's like, here's the thing, at the end of the day, the guys that pay the salaries, they don't mess up, they know what's going on. So they've already rated the players for me. So I just have to pick between whoever's open.
That's some faith in the system.
Yeah, it's some faith in the system for sure. But
that's some big brain thinking right there.
He would have been in trouble. He would have been in trouble if he was passing to someone like Mesut Ozil or Alexis Sanchez in the last.
Definitely. Well, I don't know. I guess it's like work smarter, not harder, right?
What's the deal with? He's always. I did notice this, that he always stuck on the field at the end of warmups, as everyone tried to hit the crossbar with like one last shot, and he was like the only player that could do it regularly. It was like the running gag between me and my stepson is like, every week, is Olin going to hit the crossbar again? And yes, he did it.
He's one of the few guys that does that with like a majority probability. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Except for Bisworm. Bisworm can do it.
I can. I have video evidence of me doing it after cracking a Summit open with it in my hand.
Yeah. the Ronaldinho commercial is actually based off you. So that's kind of a fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. Not a lot of people in the city world know that. But
you know what though, Lawrence, he played with such a calmness. I mean, all those guys are just calmer than your average player because not only are they physically superior, but they're mentally just seeing the game at such a high level that they don't have that franticness that you see from some younger players or even some normal older players. But yeah, Lawrence, like even in like a 4v4 scenario, he was just like smooth and just kind of like playing at a quick pace, but his body wasn't working in like a way that seemed strenuous. He wasn't like a bulldog out there unless he like really needed to be closing someone down. So I guess the only thing I can think of is that he just was so smooth at striking the ball. It was like a golf pro. Like he could just hit 100%. He could hit a 75%. He just put his foot through the ball and he knew exactly what he was going to get.
What some of those some of those players, sorry, before you go on, some of those players,
Let's
their mind is in fifth gear, but their body's in second gear.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely talked about this. Yeah, I think the age plays a huge factor in that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find efficiencies as you get older.
Yeah, little wins.
Absolutely, play to your strengths.
So, Mitch, how did you get started with City, and how has it been joining up with the guys and working with everyone? Like, is it easy to gel with the players? What has the culture been easy to crack?
Yeah, so it's been, I mean, I've felt right at home, and I mean, I've had a really fun time training. I think it's been, maybe a little bit over a month, like maybe a month and a half now. And a lot of, I guess I can say this, a lot of the guys on the City roster and a lot of guys like John and the guys in the staff, these are guys that I've kind of orbited over these past couple of years, because when the United Reserves disbanded, a lot of those guys now joined the ranks and are still playing for Minneapolis City. So, that was kind of a seamless transition for kind of a whole group of guys there. And, for me personally, because of the Sweden opportunity and a couple other things, I never made that same transition. But these are guys that I've played with, then or back in the MIAC or in youth soccer even. And they're guys that, I see on the coaching circuit and all kinds of different, places. So, even if I just played them in the Augsburg, men's winter league, these are guys I've played with just recently. So I knew a lot of them to begin with. So that was like a real unique thing, because just stepping on the field the first night, I kind of knew what to expect from each player. I knew some of their strengths. Like I could kind of read, what they wanted to do with the ball, or, what kind of a ball they preferred being, distributed or whatever it might be. So in that regard, there was like a comfort level that was just like immediate from day one. Like when I showed up, I was already BSing with, Charlie Adams and a lot of those guys and some of the old faces I had seen. So yeah, right away, I mean, I just felt like I gelled, and, I've just been enjoying it. It's been really nice, especially in, the crazy coronavirus times, to find a group that's, this well organized, because there's a lot of guys that are, unfortunately still wanting to play at a high level. But they simply have no organized group they can go and play with. But, I've told people, the level of professionalism at a City training, and just kind of the standard that the coaching staff holds us to, and then also like the other players hold each other to, these are like really quality sessions, and they might be, a little bit later at night on like a Monday or Wednesday. But, from what I've seen, every time guys show up, they're ready to ball. And I think that's completely shown. Yeah, that's like just looking at some of the recent matches like my team has had, and some of the like fire and some of the bulldog fights that we've had on the field have been, these are guys that love soccer, and I mean, they want to play and they want to like improve. So I've just been really happy to see that.
Dude, so I've had the chance to get up there a few times, and every time I'm there, I'm amazed at the work that a keeper has to do in the 7v7 setting. Usually I'm watching either your team or Luegi's team, right? And it's just like, you guys have to be on your head half the time. Like, you've got tighter spaces in the box to deal with. You've got more ball movement from your opponents around the goal. Definitely more second and third chances. You have to worry about quick restarts, quick distribution. How does the approach differ in that 7v7 environment versus like full 11 aside?
Yeah, so I mean, let me just say, like, I love 7-a-side. Like, it's one of my favorite like ways to play the game, and like I just love it. So I think I sent a text actually to John after last week's match, and I even told him, I think I phrased it, I was just like, I am mentally just beat up right now. Like, I am so tired. Like we played really well, we won, it was like a huge victory for us going into these last 2 weeks, but like, you just are mentally drained, because the thing about 7-a-side is the field is so small that even when the ball is deep into your attacking third of the field, you still feel like there's a chance that they can sting you or have like a quality opportunity in just like a few short passes. And like, that's true at high level for 11-a-side, but in 7-a-side, especially with like a full size net, it's like your position just has to be so much tighter, even just in terms of like a north-south dimension for them hitting through balls, and guys are always trying to spring long balls to try to get a quick goal and like kind of isolate a defensive lapse. So it's just like the margins for error are so thin, and then like all the set piece stuff is just like mentally draining because you're trying to organize your guys for like mainly direct kicks, but even the corner kicks, it's like the corner kicks aren't whipped in, they're like punched in. I mean, you can hardly even reposition yourself by the time that cross has come across the face of your net and it's being redirected. So it's just like, I feel like from a goalkeeping standpoint, one, you're seeing a ton more shots, obviously, because of the closer spaces, but then there's like the little X factor things, like I said, free kicks, throw-ins that are just like right on top of you compared to full-size games.
And it's, compared to someone like Troy, similar to Matt Elder, you're not the biggest goalkeeper out there, right? So it's like swimming through that crowd has to be difficult.
Yeah, for sure not. I mean, I think that, one of the things that I like about playing on the full size net is sometimes I think it actually puts the advantage into the goalkeeper's hands in some ways because, the games are higher scoring. So guys are a little bit more, maybe they're a little bit, I hate to say sloppy, but they know that they have more opportunities to score. So sometimes I think that the finishing is a little bit more lax, or if anything, it's more under pressure. So it's harder for guys to tee up a mid-range shot and just bang it in because, they're usually with a defender on their back or somebody about to put an elbow into them and they've got to fire it off quickly. So being a little bit, smaller, like 6 feet tall and just, being a little bit quicker, I think that helps with like the reaction saves at close range. But then I know like for our team, like we've been playing out of the back so much with two defenders that I kind of become the third center back. And I mean, I love having the ball at my feet. Like that's something that I developed so much, like especially last year with Minnesota United, is it being able to like start counterattacks and direct the ball and like direct the pace of play. That's like a goalkeeper's dream because usually we're just shouting at people about it. And, seven aside gives me the chance to like, ping the ball that I'm normally yelling at my center back to play. So it's kind of fun.
And last week you hit one of those balls into Nick Hutton, who ended up scoring the game tying goal. So you got
I did.
The elusive goalkeeper assist.
Yeah, Hutton and I we've kind of been mulling it over every chance we have a chance. We're talking. I'm always mentioning to him, hey, if I see you up top, like I'm going to release you. And, he and I were talking about like what kind of ball he wanted me to play. I think it was a wet surface last week, so that kind of helps. And yeah, for once I was able to look up, see him just like I was describing earlier, like isolated on their back line. And I kind of punched the ball out there, and he did a really good job of, I think he kind of body feinted on the first bounce. And I mean, his finish was beautiful. I mean, he chipped it over Troy, who really had no choice but to come out. And I mean, he was standing on his head to begin with the whole game. But yeah, Hutton got him on that one. And like I usually don't get too amped up. Like I try to keep a pretty even keel for every match I play in, just because like the mental component, like you can't get exhausted too early. But I think you guys saw me. I was celebrating pretty hard. I was pretty amped up about that one. Yeah.
Mitch, what's the biggest challenge that you face in these inter-squad games, or intra-squad games, I should say?
Yeah, I would say, so, like I said, I know a huge number of the guys for being like part of a new group. But, there are like a lot of new faces, especially some of these younger guys. I mean, I'm part of kind of the older group, I would say. So some of these guys that are just out of high school are still playing college ball. It's just, I just don't know a lot about them. And, it's kind of like developing trust with them and understanding like what they're capable of doing. It really affects my communication. Like, am I telling them to try to play out of a troubled space? Or sometimes, especially in sevens, it really is best to just play a deep ball into the corners. Let someone like Hutton or whoever is playing your kind of striker role, let them run onto it. And it's almost like a punt in football, just kind of like, as much as I love to play and I try to like encourage our team to play and like set the tempo with the ball at our feet. Sometimes if you dish the ball wide, it gives you just enough time to reset and gets you out of a tough situation. So I think that, and then also I think I know this has been like a huge topic of debate in the group chat and stuff, but like the direct kick situation, the guys are jackals about it, and like they are ruthless on these direct kicks, and the refs are like, there's only one ref, so they're trying to control everyone. So trying to get like a wall set up, sometimes you're trying to direct the wall, and 3 of those guys in the wall are just bitching back and forth with the ref, and their mind is nowhere near listening to where I'm trying to position them. So I got to get really loud, scream my head off at them.
So we ask all of our guests we've had on this fall the similar question, but if you could go back to Orono pre St. Thomas, Mitch, for a second, and talk a little bit about how, you know, we're modeling this 7-a-side league with supplemental training as our soon to be launched futures model. How does that benefit a younger player in that 16 to 20-year-old age range coming into this model as a supplemental component to maybe full-time training, and that it offers that, you know, high-level coaching and training plus that hyper-competitive small-sided atmosphere?
Yeah, so I think that this is a golden opportunity. First off, I really wish I could have been involved with something like this when I was that age, for sure. I think like one of the biggest high level things that it does is, if you have the right group of motivated players, like we currently have at City, from what I've seen, you know, they almost treat it more seriously, and they're more fired up sometimes than a full-sided league match. So some of the rivalries we have between these teams are really heated, but I think they're in a very healthy way. And, you know, it encourages then our like Monday night training sessions, even though we're not playing for league points or anything like that. Like it elevates that level, because guys are used to competing, and guys are still fired up from the previous week's Wednesday game, and they're looking forward to the game in 2 days. So, you know, that right there just raises everyone's ship. And the other thing about sevens is, you know, I think sevens, John and I were talking about this earlier when we were coaching together. I think that sevens is such a great balance of things that you can bring to 11v11 soccer, but at a little bit higher level frequency. But I also think that then the nice thing is that the volume is turned down a little bit. So it's like you're getting more shots on net, but it's in a more controlled situation. The games aren't as long. The field players aren't putting as many, you know, miles on their boots, so they can recover quicker. So sevens with a big goal, you can just learn so much. And especially from like a goalkeeping standpoint, you're getting so many more shots on net. The shots are usually closer, which, you know, just opens up 11v11 when you go back to playing in that situation. And then for me, I think the biggest thing for like young goalkeepers still, and it's almost like a cliche now, but, you know, it's playing quality distribution out of the back, whether it's from your hands, whether it's hitting side volleys, whether it's striking the ball off the deck. And, you know, if you're in the right situation and your field players trust you, like they seem to, and I hope they do now on my team, you know, they're willing to give me the ball. And, you know, the number of times that you're touching the ball and distributing it out of the back with a striker bearing down on you, and you've got to make quick decisions, that is like every time you jump up a level in soccer, whether it's from high school to college or college to pro, like that is what can kill young goalkeepers, because they just can't make decisions in that situation as fast as they need to. So anything that helps them in that situation, I think is like worth its weight, you know?
Well, Mitch, I think the time has come. We've had lots of games on this show over 4 years.
Okay.
But our newest game is one that we like to call Ask John Anything. So you spend a lot of time with John, both on the sevens as a coach and as a player. So I'm sure you've thought long and hard about some weird things you want to ask him. You can ask John 2 questions about anything, and it could be soccer related, it could be life related. It doesn't even matter. It could be which of his kids he loves more. That's pretty weak sauce. There's even more insane shit you can get into. If John
some people have moved this to like getting me to tell a story that I've already told before.
Yep.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yep. So if John answers both of the questions truthfully, the game is over and he wins. However, if he pleads the fifth on any of the questions, he has to answer the next one. So the trick is obviously try to get him to plead the fifth early. so that you can get him with the real question you want him to answer.
Or but warm me up and then hit me with the hard one.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
never worked.
Sorry.
Neither of these strategies has worked.
I know I'm so much of an open book that it's been tough for people. But anyways, here's your chance.
Yeah. So I only get 2 questions though, right?
Yes.
And I should probably try to get him to plead the 5th earlier.
I mean, if you want, if that's your strategy, I mean.
Oh man, I mean, I'm kind of balancing. I could just get you to tell a funny story that I think everyone would be excited to hear. Well, I don't know. I don't know. It depends on how mean I want to be.
Right. This is the game that truly divides the good guys from the bastards.
Yep. All right. I'll start off with. So let me clarify. If I know he's lying, can I call him on it? Like
he
if he
cannot
tries
lie.
to spin a tail.
I have to answer the question.
Okay. John, why did you get a babysitter so you could come and watch tonight's varsity match?
So there's this kid. I won't name any names. Clearly he's never going to listen to this, but you never know. Small soccer community. There's a set of twins that are seniors, and tonight was senior night, which means that all of the seniors in the program get an opportunity to play on the varsity for that game. Whether we have some that play on JV because of obviously ability, and these 2 twins are on JV, and I coached one of them last year when I had the JV team, but his twin brother decided to come out his senior year and play. And he's about all of 5 feet, wears glasses, like does not look like the soccer player. If you look at a soccer player in the encyclopedia, it would not be this guy, right? Like really hard time controlling his body. Like it really just is out there to play the game and not like to win any records or any fashion shows or anything like that, like some players are. So I believe it was during Mitch will have to help me fill this part in so I make sure I get it right. But during the tryouts, there was one day where the kid just showed up with a poncho, and his response to Mitch was like, what's the poncho, or what's the poncho for? And he said something like, everyone makes fun of the person who brings a poncho until it rains. He's like that type of thinker, right? Like,
yep.
And tonight, because it was his only opportunity to ever see a varsity field, I literally, with childcare issues with my wife going one direction, me going the other, I hired a babysitter just so I could see what this guy might actually do in a higher level varsity setting. So, and
John, you were such an open book. Like,
yeah.
This is amazing. You explained that so gracefully.
But here's
done.
But here's the thing: the guy didn't do a bad job.
No,
he
100% not.
But
yeah.
And he's also the guy that just by dumb luck, he'll shut down like a really good player. Because
this is what I want to highlight. Absolutely. I tell them about the GIF I sent you today. I mean, it really is true.
Well, we were texting back and forth, and I said, I'm literally getting a babysitter so I can watch this kid play. And of course, after we both laughed our asses off, because that was actually a thing, Mitch sends me back the GIF of KG with the Celtics saying anything is possible.
Well, the reason I said that is because soccer's a crazy game, and like I remember one of the guys I lived with in Sweden, he was Polish, and he had played up through the Polish ranks, and then was over in Sweden playing at this level. And he was probably the weakest English speaker of all the guys I lived with, and he just watched so much football, and he always had a funny accent, and he could barely speak English, especially at the start. But there were some times we'd be watching and something crazy would happen, even at like the Premier League level, and I'd be like, I can't believe that just happened, like holy shit, I can't believe that. And he'd turn to me and he'd go, but Mitch, this is football. And I was telling John that, one of the by far better players in our program, and a kid that like loves the game, he got by, again, you just need lightning to strike once. This kid that John came to watch tonight, he in an inter-squad scrimmage, This kid got the ball at his feet, and he just made this really good player look silly and continued taking touches up the field. And I mean, the guys on the sideline are going wild. They cannot believe it. And I remember turning to John, and I think I even said, I put my arms back, and I looked up at the rafters like KG. Anything is possible.
But yeah, I mean, this kid came in, and I think he's successful because you, as a player with a ball trying to go around him, have no idea which way his body's ever going to go because he doesn't even know.
Yep.
And you can't get around players like that. But
he's really the most dangerous player in that regard.
He really is. You
can't read his mind.
You cannot. You cannot. And yeah, it was and like 50-50 tackles, he gives no fucks. The kid just goes in and is like, there's a soccer ball, I'm supposed to kick it up the field, and he'll just go in.
Yep.
And you think he's going to get destroyed, but the other player just has no clue what they should do, and he always comes out the victor. So hats off to him today. But yeah, that's why I got a babysitter tonight. was to watch his
That's dedication.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yep. Wow, that was so. I was wondering if you were going to plead the fifth on that one, but you stymied me with your unbelievable honesty. That was good.
If it makes you feel any better, someone asked me what my first sexual experience was, so I answered that question. so it's pretty tough.
That is a tough one. So I feel like that's just impossible then. Well, all right, I'll ask you this. So, do you have? Can you describe? It's an easy one, but I think it's kind of fun to talk about. Because I'm happy you're going to do this. What are your redecorating plans in the next couple of weeks when your wife is on vacation?
So
you know he's got a list, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So essentially, my wife and I have been together for 13 years, married for 5. So we've been together a long time, and she's come along for a lot of the rides from a soccer perspective that I've had. But there's a couple of things that I mean, we all have. If you're involved in any level of sport, you have like memorabilia from your past. So I have 2 framed jerseys that I still keep, and I've tried to put them up in our house multiple times. And the first thing she sees, and I'm just like waiting for the reaction, and she's like, "Get that fucking thing out of here!" And so I have like one of my old Kaiserslautern jerseys. I believe I have Stegman's jersey from the year I won Player of the Year, Club Player of the Year, that all the guys signed for me, and then they signed one for Dan and Nick as well that year. And then I also have a trophy from when I came in second in the Minnesota Open foot golf tournament, which was also an awesome achievement. So we're talking like 3 like big pieces of my sporting past. Yep. So she's going out of town next week. In 2 weeks. I plan to completely clear the mantle in our living room of everything that she's decorated with, and I'm going to put all my soccer stuff up.
She's gonna come home all hungover and just be pissed.
Yep, 100%. And I'm gonna hear the garage door open, and I'm gonna start the clock and just see how long it takes.
Nice.
Hey, some of those jerseys, they deserve to see the light of day. You sent me a picture of some of those, and like that one, it's like that old stretchy like mid 2000s material, and I was just like, like I crave that. It's like I can just imagine what it feels like. It's perfect for goalkeeping.
It's like Under Armour, but it's like 4 different layers of it. It's so thick, and it's like the worst material to actually be athletic in.
Yep.
But the advances in technology weren't quite there yet, and they're like, oh, we should use stretchy material instead of cotton, and you're like, actually, this thing is like 7 pounds heavier than cotton.
Yeah.
And I'm super small, and the smallest one that they have swims on me, and this sucks. But yeah, I'm gonna display some stuff on the mantle.
Yeah, they were using the same. They got this new space age material, and then they decided to use the same template from the hockey division. So they're like the old Beckham debut jerseys.
Right, exactly.
Nice.
So that's what I'm gonna do.
Well, there it went, man. I mean, that was the 2 questions. Great stories came out of it, but unfortunately, nobody has yet to to stop John in his tracks.
It's gonna happen one day, and I'm gonna get totally embarrassed.
Yep.
But until we find a new game to play, I caught a heater. I'm on a hot streak.
You're just too nice of a guy. You hold, and plus you hold such power over these players. Like nobody's gonna try to.
And I hold grudges. So
the person to do it is like Stu Holden if we ever get him.
Yeah. What did Jimmy Conrad ask me? He's like, if someone saw you in the team shower, would they be impressed? Like, nope, just an average Joe.
He's a good player. All right. Well, Mitch, thank you so much, man, for joining us. Look forward to seeing you at the remainder of the 7v7 games, and hopefully at City Stuff in the future, dude. It's really good to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've had a great time, and thanks for having me on. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks here, and hopefully we bring home the championship next week.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Have a good night, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, see ya. Bye.
That is all for this week's show, folks. Thanks, as always, to our show's sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. John, I have a 12er of Oktoberfest in my fridge, and so should everyone listening right now. Nothing is going to beat it on these perfect fall nights. I'm going to tell you a secret. Sometimes I put an Oktoberfest in a koozie, and I go and walk my daughter around in the stroller, and I drink a beer. Get to the stores today and fill your fridge up with some goodness. Summit, a more meaningful brew since 1986. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it is time to give to the club that gives back, and that is Minneapolis City. We are a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game, as well as our newly formed Futures Program Scholarship Fund. Consider a tax-deductible donation to a true city-focused organization. Do you have anything that you want us to cover? Any quests you want us to go on? Send us mail. You can send us mail. It's super easy. Hit us up on Twitter. It's fake mail. It's email, kind of like a little mini email that's only a few characters long at The People's Pitch, or actual email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. But if you're really into using the phone, you can call in and then hear your voice live on the show if you leave a voicemail. Hit us up on our show hotline. That is 612-460-5683. One more time, 612-460-5683. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit the club up at MPLS City SC on Twitter if you want to yell at them about something. Hey, we're cooking up. I'm cooking up something special for all you footheads out there. I'm talking about FIFA Ultimate Team. You got to get to twitch.tv/MPLSCitySC and follow, subscribe, do all the goodness that the Twitchers do, and then look out for more coming to you next week. If you're in the know, today, Wednesday, is when the Foot web app opens up, and the action is happening, and it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. So take a swing over to Twitch and follow and subscribe on the Minneapolis City Twitch channel, and you'll be in on the goodness sooner than later. And that's going to do it for this week. I am Nate. We enjoyed having Mitch on. Thank you so much to Mitch. Of course, John has joined me as always. Thank you so much to you, John. We'll be back next week with an exciting announcement, kind of giving the details on this new Twitch show, and of course the 7v7 playoff action. So get your picks in, and yes.
Poster burning maple weeds, cradle major keys. Thinking back, I've been major since the minor league. So supreme, too much sauce off my olive NMDs. I could staple steez, bend the goat so I get the cheese. Never fall, rake them leaves and make sure every moment gets seized. And everything I see is